today. I'm glad to be on live stream with you all. And so far, this is like my first or my first week of going live every week. So I've just started to, announce on my other main channel, Holistic Flow, that I'm going to be going live every week, usually on a Thursday, talking about a topic surrounding mental health and wellness, your mindfulness, and a healthy mental state. So I'm just here to make sure that everything is mindful and positive inside your brain and to help us, me included, be more aware of our thoughts and more aware of how our mental affects our entire health of our body and mind. So today's topic is a requested topic. If you have a request of a topic you want me to talk about, even better. I don't have to use my brain as much to think about what all you all want to see from me. So if you have a topic request, comment it on a video, comment it under this live stream, and let me know. So today's topic is how to stop negative thoughts, and or how to stop racing negative thoughts, and then how to stop burnout from or anxiety from burnout because of your racing negative thoughts. And so far, I have two notebooks, this one and this one, where I'll be pulling some notes out from years of things that I've written about this topic. So the first thing I'll say is like this is kind of like a twofold question or twofold topic. So the first topic is like how to stop your racing negative thoughts. I think there's a couple of components from like in order to like learn how to stop it, I think first we have to learn why they happen. So for me, in my opinion, negative thoughts happen because we're influenced by our outside environment. I think anything that any sort of media that is influenced by culture's way of thinking or the world's way of thinking has a way of influencing how we think. For example, you you once thought that being a grown up was about getting money and having a stable financial future and getting a job and having fun with your friends. But now, since you've watched a lot of ads about adulting being about partying and you have to live your life in your 20s, partying through your 20s because you're going to get older in your 30s or whatever, and that mindset influences the way that you think. You see a lot of, maybe you see a lot of people in their 20s drinking and smoking, and I don't know, this is just an example. What we see, whether in media, whether in our friend group, whether wherever we see it, it influences our opinions on everything. And in general, our negative thoughts come from sources that aren't from within. They come from, sorry, I just woke up. They always come from places outside of ourselves. So the first step is like realizing how much we are actually not in control of our thoughts. And once we do realize that there are so many other things that we aren't aware of that control our thoughts or that have an influence over our thoughts, we'll start to realize we can only get control over our negative thoughts and over our positive thoughts if we practice it every single day. So I have negative thoughts. The next person has negative thoughts. Everyone on this live stream watching has negative thoughts throughout the day, and they impact the way that our body feels. They impact the choices that we make. Um, I think a lot of people judge themselves for the negative thoughts that we have. So there sometimes can be a lot of shame around your thought process or why you think the things that you do, or judgment for yourself. And one thing I've learned about meditating, or one thing I've learned about thought through meditation, is that we are not supposed to judge our thoughts. Because when we judge the things that we think, we judge ourselves as a person. Because as soon as a thought comes into your mind and you want it to leave, you're trying to force thoughts out of your brain. Then there's maybe like a cycle of judgment and a cycle of shame, or a cycle of force upon thoughts that we don't want to be in our brain. And that negative cycle continues. It's kind of like you're fighting fire with fire. Like you think negatively, then you beat yourself up for thinking so negatively. And then by beating yourself up, you cause more negative thoughts in your brain, because it's like we're the biggest critics of ourselves, we're the biggest judges of ourselves. But a big way to start releasing more negative thoughts from the brain is to not judge ourselves for thinking negatively. So one thing I learned from meditation is a saying where when you're meditating and you're trying to focus, and I'll put focus in quotations because focus isn't the main point of meditation. But anyways, you're meditating and you're trying to focus, then thoughts start coming up that you don't want to have because you're trying to meditate. Then if you start to follow up those thoughts with more thoughts like, Lauren, why can't you just sit and meditate? Why are you so bad at this? You're never going to be able to control your thoughts. You can't do it on your own. If I started to beat myself up with those thoughts, it would make the process like more difficult for controlling my thoughts, because my default is always negative. But instead, if I practice this awareness to where a thought comes into my mind while I'm meditating, and then instead of pushing that thought away, or instead of negatively talking to myself inside of my head, I let that thought float away, kind of like a cloud that you watch by in the sky, and then you just wait for that cloud to slowly move out so the sun can come back into focus. It's sort of like if you just let that cloud be there for a second and linger, eventually it's going to go away. And you don't really have to wait for the cloud to get out of your sight of vision in order to focus back on the sun, because the sun is there. So let's use an analogy. The sun is your focus or your clarity. And then the cloud is like a mental fog or thoughts that you don't want. Are you going to yell at the clouds and be like, clouds, get out my way? Clouds, you're so disruptive. Clouds, I hate clouds. I hate clouds. No, you're just going to be like, oh, there's a cloud, because a cloud naturally occurs in the sky. Then you're going to wait for the cloud to move across the sky and reveal the sun. It's the same way we got to treat our brain. So, like I said, the clouds are like our unwanted thoughts. Thoughts are going to come regardless. That's what our mind does, it thinks. But the moment our thoughts come in our mind and we judge the thoughts and we say, you know, you're a bad person for having this thought, talking to yourself. Or, why can't you just think positively? Why are you always so negative? Those thoughts will get worse because we're adding more negativity onto the mix. Instead, the approach is let the thoughts go away on themselves. Let them run their course so that you can focus back on the positive thoughts, the positive things. So that's like the whole principle of actually finding contentment in life. And I've learned all of that just from meditating. So when when negative circumstances come up in your life and you're forced to deal with the negative impact of those circumstances in your life, there will be unwanted negative thoughts associated with it. Sometimes unwanted negative people or, yeah, circumstances. But we have to learn that those things come sometimes only to distract us, just like negative thoughts. And it's sort of like a test of our patience, a test of how we will react and how we will talk to ourselves in the midst of distractions that aim to throw us off of our balance and to throw us out of our element. So, the first real way to release negative thoughts out of the mind is learn that a lot of the negative thoughts that we have are just there to distract us. They're not associated with anything that we think. Like, all of our negative thoughts are always influenced by something outside of ourselves. I don't think we're trained to think negatively, from a child. We're trained to think, I mean, we naturally think positively. We naturally, as a child from birth, we're naturally thinking anything I can do or anything I can see other people do, I can do it too. Babies learn and grow just by watching other people. So I think we should try to be more childlike and think positively. Think like we can do this. There's nothing that's going to get in my way that I can't overcome. So, yeah, that would be like one of the first things to starting to release your negative thoughts, relieve your mind of negative thinking, and gain control, gain more control over your thoughts. Another thing is, in addition to realizing that our thoughts are not our own and to not judge ourselves for having negative thoughts, is to learn how to meditate. Because if you are caught in a negative loop, like you can't get yourself out of this pit of despair or anxiety or depression, however it comes up for you, and you think that you're not able to do it in the moment because you're just bad at thinking positively and you're just bad at pulling yourself up, one of the main contributors is that we don't practice it in our everyday lives. One of the main reasons why I'm able to think positively even when negative things happen in my life is because I practice thinking positively every single day through meditation. It's like we won't learn a skill if we never practice the skill every single day. And this reminds me when I was in grade school and we practiced a fire drill like at once every quarter. And lo and behold, there would never be no fires. But we would practice drills. We would practice fire drills, and we every once in a while the bell would ring, the fire drill bell would ring, and we would have to line up. The teacher would get in the front of the class. We would also have to line up and then go outside. It didn't matter if it was cold outside, December, January, or if it was, warm outside, whatever. We just did the drill. So we're practicing for when that actually happens. What if there's a fire in the building one day and because we never practiced lining up and practice going outside and practice staying calm while there may be a fire in the building. Because we never practice it, we don't know what to do, and we running around screaming and like a chicken with our head cut off. So it's like, how would we ever know how to do something if we don't practice it? I apply that to practicing positive thinking. That is why I meditate daily. So that when negative or unforeseen circumstances come up, when intense life changes happen, I now know how to control, for lack of better terms, control my thoughts because I practice mind control during meditation every single day. So that's what also what I have to say about negative thinking is that if we don't practice redirecting our thoughts towards positivity, we will always default to negative. Let me look in my notes. There was something that I once wrote down about negative and positive thinking. Let's see if I have the notes in here. It's about negative. Maybe I forgot it. So off the top of my head, I remember reading a journal essay about why why so many people have difficulty with feeling down, anxiousness, why so many people are stressed out. And I would say it's because our mind, excuse me, again, I woke up like an hour ago. It's because our mind defaults to negative thoughts. So our mind likes to gravitate towards negativity more than it likes to gravitate towards positive thoughts. So it's easier to think about negative thoughts. But for one negative thought, we need five negative thought. We need for one negative thought, we need five positive thoughts so we can counteract the negative thought in our mind. This is called negativity bias. Because negativity and thinking negatively can feel comforting to our brain. So naturally, a lot of us may feel like if we're too positive, it doesn't feel comfortable. We need some sort of negativity in our life, inside of our brain. We need some sort of chaos in there. Shake some things up a little bit in order for it to feel like we're sane. I relate to this myself because when you feel like things in life are going too well, everything's positive, you like your job, nobody's getting on your nerves. Maybe you're single and you're in a relationship, but you ain't got no relationship problems, your family good, everybody in good health, your money right, like you ain't got no problems in life. And then after a little while of this, you're like, something ain't right. Something don't feel right. Something negative's coming. And then something negative comes. Why? It's because like when some things feel too perfect or too peaceful in life, some of us need a little bit of chaos to counterbalance that peace. Because our mind is biased towards negativity. Thinking negatively feels comforting, more comforting to us than thinking positively. Sometimes chaos feels more familiar than peace because that's what we're used to having in our lives. So that's why we need more we need like to actually program our brain and practice positive thinking, positive rewards, not rewards, but we need to practice our rewiring our brain for positive thinking every single day. And that's why I meditate. Um yeah. So so far, what questions do you have for me at this point in time? If you're enjoying the live stream, then give it a thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the live. And also, if you're not subscribed, then subscribe to the channel so you can hop on live stream with me every single week. Okay. So, on the topic of, let's see, today's topic is how to stop anxious racing thoughts and also you know, the anxiety that comes from negative thinking. And another thing that comes up to me that I also have in my notes is not taking ourselves so seriously. This goes right along with not judging ourselves for our thoughts because like everybody likes to laugh, right? Me and one of my friends are going to a comedy show this evening, and we're going out as a celebration of her getting into college, or getting into a university that she really wanted to get into. And she was saying that she'd never been to a comedy show, and also she mentioned to me that she had a difficult time in the past. She had a difficult time congratulating herself or celebrating herself in any way, like whether it be being happy for herself for whether it being happy for herself for an achievement, or whether it be celebrating something else that someone or something else positively that someone said to her, a compliment, whatever. She says she has a difficult time celebrating herself, a difficult time laughing at herself or laughing at her mistakes. She judges herself a lot for the mistakes or missteps that she makes, and therefore she very strictly judges herself. And oftentimes we are the harshest critics of ourselves. And I said to her, yeah, you used to take yourself way too seriously, just like I did. I can relate. But now she's used to not taking herself as seriously as before. So, um, one of the things about like taking yourself too seriously is because we are the biggest critics of ourselves, we're judging everything we do. It's kind of like we're choosing to keep that revolving door of negative thoughts in our brain because we already get criticized by other people in our lives. Why do we also criticize ourselves so harshly? So this is a couple of things I have about taking yourself too seriously and how it affects us. Taking ourselves too seriously puts a wall in between ourselves and others. It also holds you back from being creative, and creativity is not serious. Creativity is very the opposite of serious. So a lot of the things that contribute to like anxiety, depression, you know, is like not allowing your creative brain to flow. If you have negativity in your brain that's blocking your creativeness, whether it be like all of us are creative in some way. And in my opinion and in my experience in life, whenever I'm in my creative state and I'm able to contribute something to the greater of society, and I'm able to use my gifts for good to create whatever you create, whatever I create, and then contribute to society, that literally cures my negativity, my negative thinking. If I'm feeling anxious at the time, if I'm feeling uncomfortable about myself, because everyone has gifts that they ought to use. And gifts are to give to other people, and they're not to keep for yourself. But if you're not able to take your, if you're not able to, if you're taking yourself too seriously, if you're judging yourself for every action that you've taken, you're really afraid to put yourself out there. And you're afraid to let your creative brain flow so that you can contribute something greater than yourself to society. It's us blocking our blessings. So definitely, that's the first thing about taking yourself too seriously. All of these things contribute to the feelings of anxiousness, revolving door of negative thoughts, and fear. This is a lot of fear surrounding being ourselves, which is, like I said, a large contributor to to our anxiety. Okay, the only reason we take ourselves too seriously is so that others will perceive us in a certain way. It is it fun to be so serious all the time? Probably not. So, yeah, we're so afraid of being perceived by others, which is a large contributor to anxiety, basically. What do you think about these things? Have you ever had experiences with social anxiety or being perceived in the public eye, etc., etc.? And this is valid. This is really valid because oftentimes, the fear of being perceived is from our ego, and the ego is not the bad guy. The ego is actually the good guy because it tells us, negative things that match what the outside world is telling us. And oftentimes we develop these type of anxieties in order to just survive, honestly, for real. Because if the way that your inner thoughts are doesn't match the outer world, like if everyone else is saying one thing but your mind is saying the other thing, you think your brain is invalid. You think your thoughts aren't validated. So we go out and seek that validity from, outside sources. Like, we try to match our thoughts with society's thoughts. So if society's thoughts are negative, we're going to start to tell ourselves negative things about the world, about ourselves. And people are very judgmental. But another thing within this thing is realizing that all the people who say negative things to you every day, they're thinking the same things about themselves. So all of this is just projection. People projecting their thoughts of themselves onto you, and then you're like, wait, this is the way you think, and this is the way you think, and all these people think the same things. Now I must think this way, because if I don't think this way, I'm probably wrong because everybody else thinks this way but I don't. And then you think that you're wrong for thinking the way that you think just because it's different, just because it's more positive than what other people are thinking, because other people have the problems. And then they cast their problems onto you. That's the whole thing. It's like other people have issues with themselves. And then it's so unfortunate that, and I'm a culprit of this too, like nobody's perfect, but it's super unfortunate that we catch all the strays from other people's problems and then just make them our problems, because we gain a lot of that negative self-talk, and it just feeds our negative like bias about ourselves. That cripples our creativity, makes us think that we don't have as much to contribute to the world as we actually do. It makes us more afraid to use our gifts and our talents, which is it often it all of these things suppress ourselves as a human being, which is really sad, but it's reality. So the only reason we take ourselves too seriously is because we are afraid of other people perceiving us in a certain way that contributes to a lot of anxiety, like especially the social anxiety. And it's not fun being serious all the time. It's not fun second guessing your thoughts all the time just because you think that they're not the popular thought of the world, or they're not what society thinks. And it's really difficult to exist in a place where you're so creative and have all of these ideas, and then there's always somebody or something to come and refute the creative brain that you have, because creativity goes beyond human thought often. So, taking yourself too seriously puts yourself in a box. Sometimes I'm aware of the things that make me anxious just because I feel like I'm being put in a box. I don't like being put in a box. But the only way that I broke out of being put in a box is realizing I was the only one putting myself in that box. The only way that I put myself in that box, or the only reason I put myself in the box, is because I was trying to match the type of mindset that other people around me have, because they put themselves in a box. And I just thought that was the way to survive and go throughout life. But surviving is so difficult. Thriving is easier, even if it means thinking, like, even if it means having your own thoughts, even if it means other people won't like you anymore, even if it means you really won't have any friends. Hello. Yeah, it's so difficult to put yourself in a box. But over time, if that's our default, we're not even aware that we're doing it. So, yeah. Another thing we can do to, like, release this. Let's see. Kismet J said, peace of mind is worth it. It really is. It really is. And thank you all for commenting. If you're enjoying this live stream, you can give it a thumbs up too so other people can find it. Because, like, it's really difficult, for one, to realize that you've been stifling your creativity for all these years just to fit in. I think that's like something that we learn early in life, and that, like, that's something that we learn to do. We learn to cripple ourselves early in life, and then it's sometimes takes years and years, because after that we have to unlearn all the things that we've learned, because they, like, the things that we learn become defaults. So no wonder a lot of us are already questioning whether or not our real self is our true self, because we don't know ourselves anymore. No wonder, like, a lot of people have, social anxiousness, because they're afraid of being perceived by someone else or by the greater of society. Because if we are perceived, if we're perceived, and just like, if other people see us and they're able to, like, see through the insecurities that we have, they'll see more in us than we see in ourselves, because we don't know ourselves enough. Kismet J says, we were prescribed a lot of stories and rules that were never for us. Yes, exactly. There's so much freedom in not caring what people think. 100%. 100%. And thank you for your comments and your interaction in the chat as well. So, like, the thing is, like I talked about before, our mind, a lot of our brains default towards negativity. So we feel like, actually, to think negatively about ourselves and to go about life in this survival mode is a more positive way of living, because at least we are living up to others' expectations of us. If we reject our own and live up to others' expectations, it can be a lot easier at first, because if we're seeking that approval of what people think, if we're caring a lot about what other people think, it's a lot easier, because that approval is coming from outside sources. But if your approval of yourself comes from the inside, once you start to shift from, like, needing other people to tell you that you're doing a good job, that you look good dressing, presenting however you are, that you're like that you're in the right job field. Whatever your approval is that you need to be, it's different for everybody. But when you hear that from other people, it's easy to get fed that. Then when we're not feeding ourselves any type of positivity, we no longer feel like the positivity or our joy comes from within. We think that our joy comes from outside sources like other people, like society. But it really takes a lot of self-awareness to begin to think that, freedom, real freedom, is in not caring what other people think. Because the only reason that other people think that is because they have problems with themselves. They care too much what other people think. So it's all projection. Every every opinion in life is literally projection. Let's see what else I got in my notes. And I wrote this note in November of 2020. Realize that we are not that important. We put ourselves on a pedestal in others' lives. The world will still spin on its axis if you're not who people taught you that you were, or who you taught you were, or who you thought you were, or who you tried to be. We are just a tiny speck on this earth. So this is about humility, because not saying that we're not important. We are important. Every single one of us has an important role on this planet. It's just sometimes we think that the only way that the world will keep spinning on its axis is if we keep exerting ourselves. Like it's a lack of minds. It's a lack mindset. It's a piece of the pie mindset. Like if I take the mindset is if I take too big of a slice out of this pie, everyone else is gonna have less left for them. Because this goes right along with believing that you have to overgive to the people around you in order to fulfill your role in society, so to speak. But we really don't hold as much weight as that we need to be the superhuman or the superman, superwoman, super person for everyone else, to everyone else, and not fill ourselves up inside. It's not we can get as much fulfillment as we need out of life, and so can others, and the world will keep spinning on its axis. So I this is something that I'm actively struggling with too, but working through, because I still have a difficult time sitting down, resting. I feel like there's always something I could be doing other than resting, other something more productive, something contributing to a greater whole. But sometimes what contributes to the world the greatest is that when I rest, is that when I get more sleep, is that when I just sit down and write in my journal, or sit down and do nothing really, or take a nap or something like that. But I feel like I don't got no time to take a nap. The world needs me. I need to be doing something else. I need to be always busy. And it's a positive thing, because without that of within me, I wouldn't be like creating content on YouTube. I wouldn't have a social platform. I wouldn't, you know, make so much of an impact. But at the same time, there's a healthy balance with that we have to have. And sometimes our anxiousness can come from just the feeling that we're never enough. And I relate to that feeling all too well. If you're feeling that you're not enough, realize that the world will keep spinning on its axis if we take a nap today. The world will keep spinning on its axis if we take off of work today, if we take a sick day. Like, the world will keep going. The money will keep flowing. Oh, this is a good one. We feel like if we take a break, we gonna go broke the next day. We feel like if we take 3 days off of work and go, excuse me, and go travel, that it's not gonna be no money in our bank account. Like, we feel like, yeah, we can never stop. But man, honestly, I'd rather go financially broke and have rested now. I'd rather go financially broke and have rested, but mentally I'm wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Like mentally, I got everything I need right here. Like, and if I am struggling financially, whatever, God will steer. I'm just gonna keep rowing, and wherever we rowing at, I'm gonna keep going. But I'm gonna stop to take a break. But I'm not gonna burn myself out mentally doing that. So, yeah, that's a big one. Like a lot of people don't take no break from work because they think as soon as they're gonna take a break, as soon as they take a couple of days off, they're gonna go broke. Not gonna have no more money. That rat race mentality is so fake. It's so fake. Let's see what else I got on here. When you take too seriously, you're taking someone else's opinion of you more important than your own opinion of you. We're taking other people's opinions of us more seriously than the want to be ourselves. We should want to be ourselves more than anything else, but it's like we can we can't want to be ourselves if we don't know ourselves either. Kismet J says, capitalism has done a number on us. Yes, it has. We weren't given gifts to just work all the time. Exactly. That's one of the reasons I moved out of the country when I did. I don't know if y'all know this, but I still had a job when I was living overseas, but I moved to China for like 7 months. I got back in January. I left in June of 2025. I got back in January of 2026. Thankfully so, because the events right now in the world are getting a little spooky. I'm not afraid of nothing. I'm just saying we just gotta watch out. We just gotta be on the lookout, okay? But when I was over there, I found that a lot of societies outside of the US are living the softest lives. Like there's this topic or this trending topic right now on social media called like the soft girl era. I'm living my soft life, which is just like not like having a slower life, not taking or taking everything in stride, not putting too much on your plate, and just believing that if you rest and take your time and not try to do everything at once, then you will be able to be more laid back. More opportunities will come to us without us having to constantly chase after it. Soon enough, if we relax, if we have a slow pace of life, we won't constantly have to be on the run or be chasing something. That capitalistic mindset that America done to us, other societies have it too, but obviously here we have a really tainted view of what success is. And I've decided money don't motivate me no more. It's not even a decision, it's just something I realized. Money does not motivate me no more. Literally, I'd rather I'd rather live in a small, whatever, the humblest of places. But because I have the mental fortitude of changing my chemical state of my brain through meditating, through moving my body through yoga, and I have more free time because I'm not working for most of my week, or I'm not working myself to death. I'd rather live like that at this point. It's not worth It's just not worth it anymore. It's not worth it. And I think a lot of people in this year of the fire horse are also realizing the same things. Yeah, it's just not worth it. Let's see if you're enjoying this live stream. If you've been on here for me with me for a while, like give it a thumbs up as well. I'll be going live every Thursday. If you have any more questions, put them down in the chat. I'll answer them. That's pretty much all I have for this live stream, y'all. So today's topic, we talked a lot about, some of the main causes of anxiety and racing thoughts. I talked about the fact that if we are not practicing positive thinking in our everyday lives, then when negative circumstances happen in life, we are more prone to get anxious, we're more prone to get sad and down on ourselves and think negatively, because we have to practice positive thinking and practice refocusing our brain in everyday life, such as meditation, mindfulness, yoga, other mindfulness practices, journaling. We have to practice that in order to sustain ourselves in difficult times. And it's a form of resistance too. If no one can bother you because you control what's in here, if the outside news can't bother you, what's going on in the world can't bother you, what other people tell you can't bother you, this is your governing, this is your government, this is your, you know, this is my government right here. Like, this tells me, this is my news right here. It's like you you can't you can't lose if you practice every day controlling your thoughts, regulating your nervous system. And so, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get off a live. Thank you all so much. Again, if you enjoyed this live stream, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if there are no more questions, join me next Thursday as well. Or actually, it's this Thursday because this is Sunday, a start of a new week. And thank you as well too. Thank you for joining me. Join me again on Thursday, because from now on, I'll be doing every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, if you have a topic for the next live stream, I'll put a poll on my channel so you all can kind of tell me what you want me to talk about on my next live stream, and I will make it happen. So enjoy you all's week. Take care, drink your water, stay healthy, and rest. All right. Peace and blessings to all of you. Thank you for joining me. Bye, y'all.